Welcome to a brief pause where we cover a variety of different pet topics like health and wellness, rescue, grooming, new products. Today's something a little different. I know I say that often, but this is real different. Today we're going to talk about freeze-dried taxidermy. Hear me out. Hear me out. We're with Shane Eddy today, and he's going to explain what in the world that is and why you would even want to hear about it. Okay, so I'm here with Shane Eddy from Wildlife Studios in Missouri to really give us the lowdown on what in the world freeze-dried taxidermy is and why, what are the benefits to it. Welcome, Shane. Thank you so much for being on.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So how long have you been in business? When did freeze-dried taxidermy come around? And kind of briefly, what is it? And we'll get to the details more later, but what's the basic difference between freeze-dried taxidermy and what we know as taxidermy normally?
I'm not sure when taxidermists or when the first things in the taxidermy industry were freeze dried. I believe freeze dry has been around for a long time, or the process has been around for a long time. My uncle started the business in 1986. He had dabbled with taxidermy most of his life, and decided to go full time as a taxidermist in 1986, and then bought his first freeze dryer. Freeze drying is, the technical name is lyophilization. Basically, it is removing the moisture from an object, in this case, an animal, or, they freeze dry food. You go to a sporting goods store and you go back in the camping section, you buy those meals in a bag that you pour hot water in. Well, the food in the bag is freeze dried. So we've just taken this and put it into a taxidermy application, and we do a lot of it. Works very well for small animals, like small mammals, squirrels, minks, weasels, reptiles. We do a lot of snakes. We do turtles. We do pet birds, parrots, parakeets. We have done a few macaw parrots. But that type of stuff works very well with freeze dry.
And what's the big difference between freeze-dried taxidermy and taxidermy that we know, where it's something is skinned and then a model is built underneath and reshaped into something that looks alive? What does freeze-dried taxidermy do different?
Freeze-dry taxidermy is different in the aspect that you are actually freeze drying the whole animal. We do remove the internal organs. Now, small animals such as a parakeet, sometimes we don't remove any organs at all, if everything is very small, because it's very difficult to deal with something very small. The difference is, like I said, you're freeze drying the entire animal. We do remove the internal organs and then replace in the body cavity a filler, which is called jute fiber, which jute fiber is what they spin into twine to make burlap. So it's a very natural fiber. When you compact it, it does have some body to it, which also helps in the posing of the animal, because in order to do freeze dry, you're dealing with a deceased body that is limp. So in essence, we're creating a puppet. So we prop the animals up, get them posed, and then they are frozen, and they have to remain frozen when they go into the dryer, and they stay frozen throughout the process. But the main difference is you're freeze drying the entire animal primarily, or 80% of it anyway.
So why would people prefer that? What's the biggest reason people would prefer the whole animal? Is it just because they're more attached to their pet, they'd rather have more of it? Or does it look better? Some of the pictures I've seen look better, like look slightly more realistic.
The main benefit, I think, through talking with people, I've been working here. I came to work here for my uncle in 1994. So I purchased the business from him in 2015. He decided he wanted to retire. But the main thing you touched on is that people get their pet back. Now I tell clients, you get 80% of your pet back, because we do have to remove the internal organs. We have to remove any fatty tissue that is there, because once you remove all the water, you have a large absorbent mass. So the oil and the fat will tend to soak into the dried tissue, and eventually it will work its way to the surface. But the main reason is that, as far as the pets go, is the fact that they do get their pet back. There are some services available in the United States. One in particular is in Colorado. They do extremely good work. But they do remove the skin from the animal and they carve a body. But they are extremely talented to do great work. But most of our clients seem to choose us or gravitate to freeze dry because they get their pet back.
Sure. Now you are located in Missouri. I think I told you on the phone, I'm originally from Missouri. I
Oh,
was
okay.
raised in St. Louis. I'm repping
Oh,
my St. Louis City
there you
t-shirt
go.
right
Sure.
now. Big ups
Hmm.
to South Grand Boulevard in St. Louis. Um, do you find that people in a certain location or regions like this type of saving of the animal more than others?
It seems, well, to touch on that, we live in a rural area, farming community. Slater is a town of about 1,800 people. Um, I grew up on a farm, have lived on a farm my entire life. My dad and my grandfather raised pigs and cattle. So we have done maybe 4 pets locally. Uh, there doesn't seem to be a concrete demographic or geographical area that we get most of our or all of our clients from. We do metropolitan areas tend to, I guess, be where more of our clients are. But we get clients when we first started doing this. We had the idea that a lot of the clients, because a lot of people we dealt with over the phone, and they would ship their pet to us. We got the idea that maybe they were older people, maybe their spouse had passed away and the pet they had was, their last companion that they had. But as time went on, people began to drive their pets if they weren't too far. And of course, I say that we've had people drive from, we have a client that was just here and picked up a couple of pets from Jupiter, Florida, which is a long way
Mm-hmm.
down in Florida. So, but we did find that there wasn't, like we thought, there wasn't any specific demographic of people that chose to do this. It can be older people, it can be young married couples, it can be young college students.
Okay.
Um,
So
so
okay, so I'm sure this is going to be a hard question, but to keep it brief,
yeah,
what is basically the pricing? So let's talk about, pets. Let's talk about, say, the
okay,
most average of a pet. Say, um, I know you've got a Yorkie there. Now we're on a podcast,
yeah,
so we're going to show it briefly for the people on YouTube. If you're not, you should go see our beautiful faces on YouTube. But he's got a Yorkie and a small parrot that we
mhm,
can look at. So kind of vaguely, what a Yorkie like that one cost, and say the comparative small cat around that size, just the
okay,
average small pet.
okay. Our pricing begins at $900. That is for any pet, or for a dog or cat 10 pounds and under,
Okay.
lying sleeping. For every pound over the first 10 pounds, we charge a $40 per pound fee. Um, that can get very expensive if you have a very large dog. Very large dogs, such 80 or 90, 100-pound dogs, can range into $3,000 to $4,000. They do become very cost prohibitive. However, probably 25% of the pets that we do are dogs, a lot of times 30 pounds and over. We have done numerous dogs in the 100-pound range. The largest pet we have done to date was a Alaskan Malamute. Uh, the owner lived in Fort Worth, Texas. And the dog's name was Wilbur. He's featured kind of on our website, but he weighed 173 pounds. He was huge. Um, but probably, for average, most people, if you've got a cat or you've got a Yorkie or a small dog, you're going to be around in the 900 to 1,000, $1,200 range. And the reason that it is fairly expensive is it's just the body prep time takes quite a bit of time. And the average pet is in the dryer anywhere from 7 to 9 months. If they're larger, they can be in there close to 10 to 11 months.
Wow.
It's a
Okay.
slow process. Now, if we were just the reason I say it's a slow process, I could, if all I wanted to do was just dry the specimen, I could probably dry it in half of that time. But what happens when you pull the moisture out too fast, uh, muscle tissue to drip, begins to shrink, and you get distortion. So you can kind of take a very nice plump little dog, and if you dry them too fast, kind of turn them into semi raisin type thing. So it's we've learned over with experience, I guess, having done this for 30 some years. We have a pretty good idea when people call on the phone and they say, well, I've got a 15-pound dog. How long is it going to be? And we can give them a pretty good estimate. But anywhere, we usually have pets anywhere from 10 to 11 months.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. Especially, you have to have that space and make it
Hmm.
cost prohibitive. But I completely understand. That didn't actually sound that crazy to me. And I didn't even know that they stayed in a dryer that long and
Yeah.
dedicated. Okay. So I have some fun questions that I'm sure some people
Okay.
are thinking of. I see a fish on your wall in the background. How many
Yes.
people get pet fish done?
That particular fish is a crappie. That is a freshwater species of fish. My
Mhm.
daughter actually caught that fish out of our pond. So,
Nice.
but fish, aquarium fish are difficult. Um, there are very few fish that actually lend themselves well to freeze dry, crappie being one of them. But we've done goldfish, angelfish. It depends a lot on the fish, depending on what it is. If it's more of a smooth sided fish that doesn't really have scales, like an eel or something like that, we can't freeze dry them. We've done small sharks before, and anything that has kind of a skin like a catfish, they don't, the skin, even though we dry them very slowly, the skin will wrinkle. But we've done some koi, we've done Oscars, uh, and they turn out well.
Wow.
Um, it just kind of depends on the aquarium fish. I really, I can't sit here and tell you exactly every fish we can do, but we
Sure.
get
No, that
calls
gives
all
an
the time.
idea. And then what is like the favorite or the most unique pet that you've done, or even something else rather than a pet? I know you probably deal with a lot of hunting animals, but my brain goes right to pet. What's the
Sure.
most unique?
We have done several monkeys for
Okay.
people. The small, I don't know. I can't think. We've got one here now.
Little spider
Um,
monkey.
yeah, I would say so. I'm not real versed with monkeys, but we've done some of those. We did a very small monkey for a client that was standing erect, would stand about 12 inches. And he looked a lot like in the face, like a gremlin. Have you ever seen the movie Gremlins?
Mm-hmm.
He very much resembled a gremlin, but he was a very small little guy. But we've done several of this type spider type monkeys, and one of them happened to be a service monkey that was for quadriplegics. Um, and I guess I don't know what the monkey did. I guess he may go grab a phone and take it and hold it up to his owner, or
Mm-hmm.
if they wanted a drink of water or something, he got them water. Um, so we've dealt with a lot of very different uh, things, very different animals. Um,
That's pretty
we've done.
cool. Well, let me ask you this. Um, does it ever get fun or interesting to tell people when you first meet them what you do for a living? Do you have people that
It
cringe
is,
or they
yeah,
just have a ton of questions, or do you get people that are, a little weirded
a
out?
lot. It depends on the person, but I have noticed over the years, people will ask, well, what do we'll be traveling. My daughter did competitive dance for years. So we traveled to different states and met a lot of different people. And, you'd meet someone and they said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a taxidermist. And they said, well, what kind of taxidermy do you do? Because most people are familiar with taxidermy. But when you delve into the freeze dry part of it and you start telling them, okay, well, we preserve people's dogs and cats, we've done parrots, we've done birds, and that's when the fascination begins to set in for them. And that's when the questions begin to start rolling
Sure.
from them. So I guess that's probably the most interesting part of it.
Cool. So go ahead and hold up that Yorkie. Um,
Okay.
and I know you've got a bunch of photos on the website.
Yeah.
And for
This,
people listening, I know that you can't see this, but it does look very, very realistic. The hair is great. And this one is 30 years old, you said?
yes, she was one of the first pets that we actually freeze dried. And we get a very, very common question from potential clients is how long do they last? The honest answer that I give them is I can't really tell you how long they last. I tell you how long I can tell you from my perspective of what we have done that they will last at least 30 years.
Right.
I fully expect this little dog to probably, kept in a good environment and not get wet. Uh, it's hard telling how long she'll last. She's probably
Sure.
going to outlast me because I'm 55, and I would say in another 30 years she's still going to be around and look that good, and I'm not going to look as good as I do.
Yeah, it looks
So
really, really great. It looks
yeah.
soft and realistic.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming on. People should definitely visit the website if you want to see more. I mean, seeing is believing. There's lots of pictures on there. So tell people where they can find you.
We are located in central Missouri in Slater. You can also find us, you just get on Google. And if you want to just Google pet preservation, we will show up as Eddy Wildlife Studios, or on Google. It's probably, since I purchased the business and I didn't change a whole lot with the keywords and things, Anthony Eddy Wildlife Studio, which was my uncle, which the business was known as that forever. Um, our website is, it's kind of a different name. When he came up with the website name, he wanted to have several keywords in there. So it is pet-animalpreservation.com is what our website is, and that should take you directly to our website.
Perfect. That's great. Well, thank you so much for answering our questions. I know when I've talked to my clients, most
Mhm.
people have not heard of this, and I just thought it was so cool. So thanks again for answering questions.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok if you're not already, and join the community. Let us know what you think. And we'd love your feedback and your likes and your subscriptions, but most of all, your ideas. What else do you want to hear and see and learn about pets? Till next time.